Hello, I'm Maddie Mills and I'm from the South East Communities Rail Partnership. My workshop is on sustainable travel, but what do we actually mean by sustainable? I'm going to give you 30 seconds to have a quick chat amongst yourselves about what sustainable might mean, and I'm going to have a little question mark up whilst you're discussing. So what does sustainable actually mean? Well, I think it's about not being harmful to the environment or using up natural resources. And it also means that hopefully we're meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their needs as well. So my next question to you is, what is traffic congestion? And again, I'm going to put up the question mark. So what does traffic congestion mean? It's basically about how busy our roads get, which means that we travel at slower speeds, it takes us longer to get to places where we need to be, and we have to queue for longer as well. So now I want to show you this picture. It's the same street, but on the left you've got a picture of 86 people and their 86 cars. The middle picture is a bus with 86 people who can all fit on that bus. That's about the same as a carriage on a train. And then on the right you've got those self-same 86 people with their 86 bicycles. So which one of those forms of transport takes up less space on our road? Yeah, it's the middle one. It's definitely the bus. But why is the bus also better than the car for the environment? They both have engines, but why is the bus better? I'm going to put up the question mark and you're going to have 30 seconds to discuss. So why is the bus better than the car? Both have engines, but the bus has one engine with 86 people instead of 86 people in their 86 cars with 86 engines. So that's why the bus is better. And why is the train better than the bus? It's because the train isn't even on our roads, so it doesn't cause any traffic congestion on our roads. So that's even better than the bus. So we're now going to move on to look at pollution. And I'm going to ask you the question, what is pollution? I'm going to put up the question mark and have a chat about your answers. So pollution is something that's introduced into our environment that is dirty, unclean, or has a harmful effect. Pollution is made up of particulate matter, and that can actually get into our hearts and lungs, and it's not good for them. We also have carbon monoxide in pollution, and this stops the red blood cells from receiving oxygen. So sometimes when we talk about pollution, we might talk about things that are toxic and non-toxic in the pollution. Toxic means that they are harmful substances and chemicals, and non-toxic means that they're not harmful. So we're now going to do an activity, and you're each going to need one of these sheets that hopefully you've got in front of you, or you might be sharing one with your partner. So make sure you've got those ready. You're also going to need a pencil. So this list on the screen is a list of all the chemicals that come out of our car exhausts. Some are toxic for us, which means they're bad for us, and some are non-toxic, which means they don't harm us. And what I would like to do is very quickly draw a line from each chemical to the circles of whether you think they are toxic or non-toxic. So you can work with a partner, and I will put the question mark on the screen. I'm going to give you probably about a minute. Off you go. So, are you ready for the answers? Here we go. The first one, benzene. It's toxic. Next one, carbon dioxide is also toxic. Carbon monoxide is toxic. The hydrocarbons are toxic. Nitrogen is actually non-toxic. Nitrogen oxides are toxic. Oxygen is non-toxic. Particulate matter is definitely toxic. Sulfur dioxide is toxic. And lastly, water, non-toxic. So those are the answers. How did you do? So we now know that the exhaust that comes out of our vehicles is not good for us. So we need to think about sustainable ways of travelling that will help reduce the amount of exhaust that is produced. So we're going to do our next activity. You should have images like this in little cards in front of you. They need to all be cut up, not as one like this. So they should all be individual. And what I'm going to ask you to do is play the London to Edinburgh travel game. So for this activity, I want you to work out which is the quickest form of transport from London to Edinburgh and which is the slowest. And I want you to create a line going from the quickest to the slowest. So you can move those cards around on your table with the quickest at one end, working your way through to the slowest on the right. If you don't have the cards, don't worry. You've got the 6 forms of transport on the screen there. I'm going to leave them on the screen. You can jot them down and number them 1 to 6, with number 1 being the fastest and number 6 being the slowest. So you're going to have 3 minutes, and I'm going to leave this slide on the screen, and your time starts now. So you've had 1 minute, you've got 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left to sort your forms of transport out. Right, so you've had 2 minutes. If you've already finished, that's brilliant. You might want to have a look around you and see if everyone else has got similar ideas to you. But if you haven't finished, you've now got 1 minute left. 1 minute to go. Right, 30 seconds left. So make sure you're absolutely certain you've got them in the right order. You've only got a few seconds now to change them if you want to change your mind. 10 seconds. Okay, so your time is now up and I'm going to reveal the answers. So, the quickest way of getting from London to Edinburgh is, of course, by plane. That will take you about 1 hour and 25 minutes and it will cover 336 miles. The next one, of course, is the train, and that will do that in 4 hours and 42 minutes, covering 392 miles. So in third place, we actually have a joint one for third place. It's the diesel car and the petrol car, and they will take 7 hours and 25 minutes, covering 405 miles. So what's the next one? It's actually the electric car. That takes 11 hours and 25 minutes, but it's doing still 405 miles, which means that the slowest one is actually the bicycle, which, if you wanted to do it, will take you 38 hours and you'll be covering 481 miles. And it will take you longer on the bike because you can't use the motorways, so that's why you will have to cycle 481 miles because you won't be doing the motorways. So my question to you is, why does the electric car take longer than the diesel car and the petrol car? Why does it take longer? I'm going to put up a question mark for 30 seconds. Off you So the electric car is slower than the diesel and the petrol cars because it has to stop and recharge, and we think that would take about 4 hours on that journey up to Edinburgh. So now you know. So this is your last activity, and using those same cards as before, I now want you to arrange them in order of which emits the most amount of carbon emissions and which one emits the least amount of carbon emissions. These are the things that are not great for our health, so it's the one that's going to be the most polluting. Start off on the left and work your way across and place your cards in order to the one that is the least polluting on the right. And again, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. This may not be as easy as the last one, so think carefully about it. And your 3 minutes starts now. So you've had 1 minute, you've now got 2 minutes to go. You've got 2 minutes left to finish the activity. So you've now had 2 minutes. If you've finished the activity, have a look around at your neighbours and see what they've decided and see if you've got the same answers as them. If you haven't finished, you've got 1 minute to go. You've got 30 seconds left. 30 seconds. And your time is up. So here are the answers. In first place with the highest amount of emissions is the plane. Second place is the petrol car. Third place is the diesel car. Fourth place is the train. And in joint fifth place is the electric car and the bicycle. So my next question to you then is, why does the petrol car emit more carbon emissions than the diesel car? I'm going to put the question mark on the screen and you've got 30 seconds to come up with the answer.
So why did the petrol car emit more carbon emissions than the diesel car? Well, that's because we were only measuring the CO2 emissions, and petrol cars emit more CO2 than diesel cars, but less nitrogen and tiny particles.
So it's really interesting with that activity that the quickest form of transport, the plane, was actually the most polluting. So maybe after this workshop you might want to have a discussion about how important it is to travel quickly versus how important it is to travel in a less polluting vehicle. So maybe the electric car is slower, but it pollutes the atmosphere less. I hope this workshop has shown you how important it is to think about how you travel for the benefit of the environment. Walking and cycling are not only really healthy ways of travelling, but they're also really good for the environment. Otherwise, travelling by bus and train are definitely really good ways of travelling. Thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed the workshop. Teachers, just so that you're aware, we do have lots of other free workshops that we can offer, either in person or virtually. So head over to our website, find the education pages, and all of our resources are listed there. Thanks again for listening. Bye-bye.